In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. How do you like my garbage truck? This truck is in honor of Kamala and Joe Biden. Arnold Palmer was all man, and I say that in all due respect to women, and I love women. Now I have worked every day. I've now worked for 15 minutes more than Kamala.
Good times, good times. All right, folks. We all know he won, and it was glorious. It's still glorious. It's great, right? Fantastic. You know this is an opinion-driven news and commentary show, right? And I've been very upfront and open since the beginning about my support for President Trump, both the substance and the style. I like it. And he just won an amazing victory, the ultimate comeback. So why do I feel a little bit down? I've been talking to some people out there, fellow Trump supporters, and there's a little bit of melancholy. I feel it. Do you? Probably not. But I do know that this is a thing. It is a thing. After a very intense campaign, and we're all on the edge of our seat, we're all worried about what could happen. So I looked it up. Actually, I asked the supercomputer named ChatGPT. My preferred candidate just won an election after a very long campaign. So why do I feel depressed? Depressed is possibly too strong a word. A little bit sad, a little bit like... They had a very good answer for me. It's common to feel a bit down or even empty after a long campaign season, even if your preferred candidate wins. Campaigns can be intense, both emotionally and mentally, and they can create a sense of purpose and focus that keeps you engaged. When it ends, you may experience a letdown as the adrenaline fades and you return to your normal routine. Now, I don't want to make it sound like I was out there campaigning, all right? I was just going to work, doing my thing, but still, it feels a little bit different. I'm going to get through this. I mean, again, I am happy, but there's a thing. Emotional investment. Campaigns require emotional energy. And once it's over, you might feel the effects of that buildup and release. This can be especially true if you've been deeply concerned about the issues or invested in the outcome. Absolutely. I showed you my two little daughters, 2 and 4, right? Totally invested in the outcome. Anticipation and reality. Sometimes the excitement and anticipation leading up to the election can be intense. Afterward, there's a natural period as you process that it's over and that the issues may not be resolved immediately. All right. It gave me a big answer. Sense of purpose. If you've been actively involved, you may feel a sudden loss of purpose. I don't think that's me yet. Campaigns often bring people together. That was great. And give them a shared goal. So it's natural to miss that energy and sense of community afterward. We've got to keep that going. And mixed feelings. Even if your candidate won, the road ahead may still have challenges, and there might be lingering concerns about the future. It's common to feel both satisfaction and a hint of uncertainty about what comes next. Am I the only one? I know I'm not. And actually, one of my favorite figures in history. The man who accomplished the second greatest comeback in political history, Richard Nixon. So he had quite a career, right? He's vice president of the United States. He runs for president, loses. Then he runs for governor, loses again. And this is what he said after that loss.
But as I leave you, I want you to know, just think how much you're going to be missing. You don't have Nixon to kick around anymore. Because, gentlemen, this is my last press conference.
Well, 6 years later, elected president of the United States. How about that? He comes off a losing gubernatorial campaign, and then he runs and wins the presidency. Nixon had incredible highs. 1952, he's selected as Eisenhower's running mate. Look at the guy in the white suit holding up the hand. He's like Tim Walz. He was a wild man a little bit. And even when he won, he could be overcome with emotion. Here he is, crying in public. This is after he was vindicated in that silly, what was it again, the Checkers thing? No, yeah, Checkers the dog. They were giving him a hard time about that. Nixon wrote about this. Even after a successful outcome, you can feel terrible. Do you mind if I do this? In his memoir, a man will look forward to the end of the battle, he thinks. Just as soon as this is over, I'll feel great. but except for a brief period of exhilaration, if the fight ended in victory, he will then begin to feel the full effects, of what he has been through. He may even be physically sore and mentally depressed. What has happened, of course, is that he is just too spent emotionally, physically, and mentally to enjoy the fruits of victory he so eagerly anticipated. The easiest period in a crisis situation is actually the battle itself. And the most dangerous period is the aftermath. It is then, with all his resources spent and his guard down, that an individual must watch out for dulled reactions and faulty judgment. Again, I didn't just win or lose a race for presidency, but I think this kind of has relevance. Don't you think? I think so. Anyway, what is Donald Trump going through? We know he doesn't have any of this stuff. Number one, he's built differently, right? He's got like kind of superhuman strength, and he's busy. And Trump doesn't have any time for these kinds of feelings. He's too busy. Look, he came off the campaign 1,000 miles per hour, and he's got so much to do. He's got a government to staff and rebuild and maybe even blow up a little bit. And we know he's doing that. He's going to have to retreat for a little bit, right? We're not going to see him as much, and that's okay. And I want to focus on the takeaways. The takeaways for somebody like me and you. We're not president. We're not going to be president, but there's got to be some takeaways. We don't get arrested and indicted and thrown in jail and, the public trial and all that stuff. But we have our own trials, right? Smaller trials, smaller adversity. But let's learn a little bit from his. So he's going through this horrible time, and he won in part because of it. Here's how the New York Times actually puts it. And they miss it a little bit, but there's also some truth in this. President-elect spun his own grievances into political gold. Now, here's the problem with that. It's not really a problem. It just makes it sound like President Trump schemed this way, right? Schemed? No, this is actually, if you're close to God, the natural order of things in a way. It's all over the Bible. King David, this guy went through all kinds of things, right? He made mistakes, he paid for those mistakes, and then he was the ultimate victor. It's beautiful. It's all in the big book. What does it say in Romans? God causes everything to work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to his purpose. We go through adversity. We don't know why, but great things can come of it. President Trump went through a lot of adversity, but the adversity actually worked out very much in his and our favor. And when people like Michelle Obama shot her mouth off like this, they thought it would leave a mark. Nope.
If I'm a little angry that we are indifferent to his erratic behavior, his obvious mental decline, his history as a convicted felon, a known slumlord, a predator found liable for sexual abuse.
All lies, all of it. Especially the part they love saying the most, the convicted felon part. It's actually not true. You're not convicted until sentencing. You're not technically considered a convicted person until sentencing, they got to enter it into this record. It's not a conviction yet. Even though the jury made a ruling, made a finding, the judge has got to do X, Y, and Z before it's a conviction. And he's never going to be able to get to do that. So President Trump has won again, big time. We are so lucky. And so is the world. How is the world reacting? Very well.
I would not say discuss, but we touched upon yesterday. It's the whole topic of LNG. We still get a lot of LNG via Russia, from Russia. And why not replace it by American LNG, which is cheaper for us and brings down our energy prices, but is something where we can get into a discussion, also what our trade deficit is concerned.
You think? You think? Her name is Ursula, and finally she's seeing the light. European Union wants to buy American natural gas to avoid Trump's tariffs. I think that's very wise. What about the street, Wall Street?
Big rally in the stock market, 1,200 points on the Dow Jones Industrial Average. That's we're looking at record highs in all these major averages. That's a big move. And when you look at smaller cap stocks, they're even doing better than that because the idea here is that a second Trump administration would wipe away an awful lot of regulations that cost small business money. So that's what the going thinking is here this morning on that.
Hey, imagine that. This is all happening, and Kamala Harris doesn't get to implement her, what was that called again, an opportunity economy? Hey, Kamala Harris was a middle-class kid. Donald Trump wasn't middle class. He was upper middle class, but this is all great stuff. How is that working? Wow. Putin says he's going to sell Russian oil in U.S. dollars. That's a good thing. Hamas, the terror group, they're suddenly talking about peace. They want peace. How about this? There's a caravan on its way. Oh, sorry. First, Zelensky had a very important private phone call with Trump and Musk. Donald Trump just might be able to bring about an end to this war before January 20th. And that migrant caravan, one is on its way to the United States. You know, in the past, they just say, okay, what time is going to get here? Got it. All right, we'll have our news cameras there. This time, Mexico thwarted the whole thing. Fantastic. Even Joe Biden is actually looking a little bit chipper. Have you noticed? He said, I mean, this time he's not faking it. You know when he smiles and he's like angry as hell? He's actually enjoying himself because he wanted Kamala to lose. That's why he endorsed her. He short-circuited the whole thing. Still want to know the real story about how they got him out, don't you? All right, there's a lot more going on. And a little bit of information about how we're going to engage President Trump going forward. I'll be right back.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.